Hi, this is Nicole from thismomentisgoodblogspot.com. Today I'm going to show you how I do the puff stitch. The puff stitch is how I'm achieving this very textured, puffy look to some of my patterns. And if I turn it to the side, you can really see it's 3D stitch. And it is really just, I converted regular knitting stitch to the loom. I make mine pretty large. I like on certain things to make it, but it can be made smaller and more narrow in height. But let me show you how that's done. Your pattern will tell you how many rows to do in between, so I'm not going to go over that. This one, we're just, for purposes of this pattern, we're going to use that we did 5 rows. So I abbreviate the puff stitch PS. So it'll say puff stitch, and it'll tell you in the pattern how many stitches you're going to be counting down within each pattern. Okay, so for purposes of this, the puff stitch tells you to count down 5 rows. So how you do that is you count down 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And you can stretch out your knitting if that makes it easier. So this is pretty simple stitch. So you count down the number of stitches. Sometimes it helps to tighten that up. And you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And here's the 5th stitch. You're simply going to pick that up, and you can do it with your tool, and you're going to put it up onto your peg. And then you knit it as you're asked. If you're E-wrap knitting, there's some E-wrap knitting, you would E-wrap knit, and that's it. So if it tells you to E-wrap knit 3 before your next puff stitch, you would E-wrap knit whatever your pattern is saying. And then if you're doing another puff stitch here, this is where it's calling for a PS, then you would once again count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there's your 5th stitch. You'll loosen it up. Make sure you only have the one stitch, and put it above on the peg that's right above the stitch, the one that it's calling for. Then you will E-wrap knit as usual, or if your pattern says knit, you would knit. If it says to purl, you would purl. Most of mine call for some kind of knit. I haven't gotten into. And eventually what it's doing, it's creating that puff along your knitting. And then you end up with a texture like this. And I'm going to put examples of different things that I've made using this stitch and the patterns that we have available. But that's how it's done. It's pretty easy. The hardest thing is sometimes if your stitches have tightened it up is loosening it and being able to bring it up. I tend to use the E-wrap knit stitch because of that reason, because it's so loose and it's a very easy stitch to pick up, but it can be done with regular knits. It just might, the stitches might be a little tighter, a little bit, require a little bit more work to separate. So that's it. That's how you do the puff stitch. Thank you. Have a great day.